Morning everybody, Scotty here from Airborne Solutions. So a question we get asked a lot is about the terrain following on the drones. There is 4 different ways to terrain follow, or 1 not terrain follow. So this video is step by step for existing customers and new people to understand how the drone thinks. Obviously we're in New Zealand, we're throwing the drone into all sorts of different topography, so there is a few different ways to skin the cat, if you will. On what you want to do. The first one I'm going to show you is 3D route. So this is when a small drone, a Mavic or whatever, has flown over, or the Max can do it as well, obviously onboard mapping, flown over, taken a heap of photos, stitched them together and built a 3D map. So we then import the 3D map into the controller, which then passes that information to the drone. So the drone, in the drone's brain, it knows the entire flight. It knows all the hills, all the holes, everything. This is the ultimate in terrain following. Takes a bit more to prepare because you've got to map it, but having the drone know what's ahead of it is the ultimate for terrain following. So we'll quickly click on this one. You do need RTK for 3D route. You can get that by a cause or by a portable base station. So Jamie's already been out here this morning, and we're not going to worry about any of these sort of settings really that you can see on the app. We're more worried about the in fact, I might even do it fly only. We are more worried about these settings. So flight speed, we can actually set this to be quite high in 3D route because the drone knows what's ahead. It will judge that speed and slow down if it needs to. So speed's not too much of an issue in 3D route. How close to our boundaries, access route, so how high and how fast to the job. We're not worried about safety points and all that sort of stuff for this video. Not worried about any of this for this video. And you can see that's actually already turned on because that's how Jamie did it last. So what we want to do is turn that on. What it's done there is it's pulled the terrain data and calculated it all and pushed it all into the drone's brain. So we're going to take off now. Oh, actually, I'll quickly show you guys this as well. This is the point cloud, so you can see where the drone's going up and down during the flight. See, that's all built ahead of time. So we're going to start now. Literally just going to do 50 meters. No spray is going to come out because I've got it turned off.
The drone is about to take off. Please stay clear.
You'll note the drone will fly really smoothly because it knows what's in front of it, basically. It's not trying to figure it out as it goes, not using its own brain power. So you can see there the drone's ripping along because it's quite happy about what's in front of it. I'm going to return it to home now.
Drone Smithers returning.
And we will do the next mode. Again, in 3D, the really cool thing is you'll see the drone here has evened out that whole flight path. It's not trying to follow through the holes and stuff because it knows that that's just a hole in front of it and it can just rip across to the next waypoint. So where would you use 3D route? Forestry and a rolling crop, so brassicas, kale, all that sort of stuff, spot spraying, blackberry, anything like that. We basically say anything you can't drive your two-wheel drive ute over, I'd use either 3D route or 3D map free. So we will terminate that one. Next one we're going to show you is similar, but this one, the difference is that the drone is actually calculating this as it goes, using its own radars, etc. So we'll turn fly only on again, we're not worried about spraying. So what we do is we go down here, we're telling it to be 6.5 meters high. The main difference with this one is it's got a maximum flight speed of 8 meters a second because it's calculating the topography in front of it. So processing power is only so fast. So 8 meters a second, same here, 8 meters a second. It does actually tell you this when I turn it on down here. It's map free here. So you can go up to 90 degrees and down the bottom there it says maximum speed 8 meters a second. 8. We're not worried about anything else. You can see here it's quite good. It tells you map free 3D is on. So this is quite good if you don't want to go out to a job twice, so no
The
mapping
drone
required.
is about to take off. Please stay
You
clear.
can see the job quite easily on Google Earth maybe, you just tap dots out. Doesn't matter how steep it is, the drone will handle it really well. So the drone's basically pretending it's never been here before, and it's figuring all of this out as it goes. So you can see it's still pretty fluid. And works really well. So I'm going to return it to home now.
Drone Smithers returning.
Yeah, so time to use that rolling crop spraying. Oh, we use it sometimes on forestry if the block's pretty small and straightforward. So you can see it's just a little bit more clunky as it's coming back compared to the 3D route. But it's still pretty good. Right, so next thing is the most common time we use this is roof washing or any sort of roof treatment. As terrain following all off or disable throughout. We also use it a lot for fertilizer. So in the Fert setting, we want to use it when it's a bit rolling. With fertilizer, if the weather's right, as long as it's not too windy, it doesn't really matter how high you are. Sometimes we're up around 80, 90, 100 meters. Just remember, if you go over 120, you're breaching airspace. So oftentimes we will position ourselves at a high point and just send the drone full speed. It makes huge difference to your efficiency. Generally with fertilizer, the customer is more interested in the cost than necessarily being 5 meters off the ground and being perfectly along the fence lines. So Fert seeding and roof washing, this is terrain following all off. We've got a little roof here, so we'll select that and turn the spraying off again. And then right down here is where we find it, terrain following, always off, which obviously this roof's been done before, so that's what it's defaulted to. So our heights, we will go, it's a bit of a guess because I can't remember it, it's a while ago since we've done it, but I'm going to say 12 meters, so the drone's just going to stay 12 meters above the ground here. So we set them both the same. 12 and approaching, 12 and spraying, and the drone will double check everything here. Access route, may as well go a bit faster, why not? Terrain following's on, all off. Blah de blah de blah, fly only. Always double check terrain following and the altitudes. It's the two most important things to check before you take off. So it's just going to completely ignore what's below it.
The drone is about to take off. Please stay clear.
It's really important. You can see 12 is a bit ridiculous, so I'll lower my height. 10 now. Lower my height another probably 1 meter. 9, perfect. There's pretty much no exception to this rule, so you pretty much always roof wash with the terrain following off. I'm sure there's the odd person's found the exception around, but what happens if you make a mistake on your mapping and that drone flies off the edge of the roof while it's terrain following? It'll fly off the edge as it's turning and it'll sink like a stone towards the ground. So it's best to have terrain following all off for roofs. So the other place we use terrain following all off would be like this. So this is just long skinny block, but we'll pretend we're going to Fert it. So like I said before, don't worry about your height. We'll go to 35 meters and you can see we'll be able to go flat out. So this will be your efficiency gains come with fertilizer. Flat out. If we were to terrain follow that, it would probably take in the realm of 2 to 3 times longer. Usually we like to position ourselves on top of the hill so we don't have to go climb all the time. We might be only climbing to 10 or 15 meters.
The drone is about to take off. Please stay clear.
You see we're going to climb all the way up to 35. Yes, it takes a little bit longer to climb, but not that much longer. And once it's there, you are cooking with gas speed-wise. So we're going to get right up to 72 kilometres an hour here, you know, whereas if we were terrain following, would be down around the 20. But bear in mind, you want to be careful here. If you've set the drone up to fail, i.e. the land is higher than 35, it will hit it. Obstacle avoidance at 72 kilometres an hour is not the best. But you can see how much quicker it is at the job.
Drone Smithers returning.
So that's yeah, how we do a lot of our seeding and a lot of our top dressing. Right, so the last mode of terrain following we're going to cover off is what we call normal or traditional terrain following, and we use this in generally flat paddocks or maybe rolling. We say to use it wherever you could easily drive a two-wheel drive sort of vehicle. In normal terrain following, it will prioritise speed. So if you set 20 metres a second or 15, it will try really hard to hold that speed. This is where being a diligent operator is important, because if you set 20 metres a second in a hilly block, and let's say, you know, some of the block's hilly and then it gets to a flat piece, it will roar right up to 20, and then it gets to a big hill and maybe it'll all just happen too fast for it. So really important to pick the right terrain following for the right job. So I'll just show you guys how this one works. It's pretty straightforward. Again, we'll do fly only because we don't really care about spraying today. 3.5 and 3.5. Terrain following is all on. There is actually one little one I can touch on here. And that's operation routes only. So we would use, so this is when the drone will ignore what's underneath it between the load site and the job. So you might have a little gutter or gully, or you might have a power line as a good example if you're flying over something, or a big tree, because every time if you have terrain following on and you're flying over a big tree, it'll fly over it and it'll do a big roar every time it flies over it. So you could turn operation routes on only. That means it'll not terrain follow to the job and start terrain following once it gets to the job. Sorry, that is not what we want here. So we want always on. And we will hit start now, pretty straightforward. At any point too during any of these flights, you can push the up stick and the drone will pop up. So if you're a little bit worried about something, tree or whatever, you can override the drone and just tell it to go up and it will carry on flying, but go up a little bit. So you can see the drone's prioritising, trying to get to 20 metres a second. And I'm going to tell it to return home now because there's one other thing I want you guys to see.
Drone Smithers returning.
So let's say a portion of your paddock was you wanted to use normal terrain following because it's a lot faster. You can do that, and then you get to a point where, hey, I've realised I've stuffed up here and I should be using map free. You can just turn it on during the job. The drone has to be on the ground. So if it's getting steeper, then you're more comfortable. Turn that map free on, pull the speed down to 8, you're away laughing. One other thing I will show you guys while you are here is the difference between safety zone and safety point mode. So when we're using safety point mode, the drone will come and go via this green dot you can see here. So we can, I'll turn fly only on again. We can edit that point. So we can make it fly around a tree or whatever we want, and we can edit the green point. So that means the drone will always come and go via that yellow line. But one other really important thing it does is when the drone's out in the field and it runs out of spray, in safety point mode, it will stay at the operational height all the way back to the green dot. So in New Zealand, in China and where these drones are built, that's really important because often they're flying under power lines, like a lot, they're flying under power lines. So during the operation route, it'll stay at the same height. But in New Zealand, we often turn this off and we use safety zone mode. A, it's faster, but B, more importantly, as soon as the drone runs out, so that might be way at the back of the paddock, it will climb to the approaching and departing height. So we could set that approaching departing height to be like 20 meters. And that means as soon as it runs out, it will climb immediately to 20 meters and then come back. So that means we can set a way higher speed because we've just got the drone so high it's out of harm's way. And safety zone, we can also still edit it here to make sure it doesn't go and hit any trees or anything on its way. So safety zone, it'll climb to the approaching and departing height in the field and return home, and return out and head out. Safety point, it will only stay at the approaching and departing height to the green dot, to the entry point to the field. Then it will descend to the operational point. So really useful in rolling hill country in New Zealand to use safety zone mode. As soon as it runs out, climbs really high, can send it back at 20 meters a second. Hope that makes sense. If you've got any questions, just give us a call. Happy to help out anytime. Cheers.